probably never felt this hard since I've been out here. I just got back from town, and while I was driving to town, I got a notification from Deacon saying, hey, I sent a package. It's probably not worth going to the post office for, which is hard to quantify anyway, because anytime I go all the way to town, it's, you know, I try to do multiple things. But I thought it was funny he said that, because I started to open the package, and then I thought, well, I better make a video. As I started to open the package, the first thing I saw was this, which, you know, to me is pretty complex circuit diagram, it says. And it's funny because when I did my ham radio stuff not too long ago, that was really the first time that I got to have any understanding really of any of this. Like, I actually can look at a lot of this and understand it because of my ham radio classes. I saw that and I thought, man, this is pretty useless to me. The only thing I know that, you know, the only reason I know how to read any of this is from ham radio stuff. And then I cracked open the box. I saw this, which, as much as I know, which isn't a huge amount, enough to pretty well ace the tests, but that really doesn't mean that much. There's a lot more to know about ham radio. It's pretty complex. But my understanding is this should assist me in getting a better signal. Gosh, I'm having trouble with one hand. I've still never made contact with my radios. Matter of fact, I keep them right here just in case. So I have two of these, and I have a Yagi antenna that's up on my shed, the shop. And I can listen to some people, and I can listen to emergency radio, but I haven't been able to make contact. And I am pretty confident that's why he sent this in. Gosh, it looks like a nice radio. Let's see if I can kind of... Wow, it's built really nice. It's just a heavy piece. So I'd imagine it's a good little radio. And these are not cheap. So, FM transmitter. God, it looks like it's nice, man. Looks like it'll really do the trick. So there's an EBL battery charger. I have one of these, and man, it's always good to have batteries. I don't know what's going on here. Might have to use two hands for that. But, well, it looks like this would work for... God, I'm having so much trouble. It looks like this is for an antenna. And I would imagine this just looks like just nice cable for the ham radio. Just much nicer than the cable I already have, which could be part of why I don't have a great signal, you know? Okay, so this gives some channel information. And Radio Shack. What is this? I don't know. Something. I don't know what this is. Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know. And, oh, I see. Well, this... Huh. Shortwave radio. Shortwave band. Interesting. There's a nice long letter here. Probably, well, I'll probably read that on my own, but it looks like just a wonderful setup. So I look forward to checking it out. I'm grateful. Thank you, man.
A couple weeks ago when I went grocery shopping, the power went out, and so I only had a few minutes to grab hamburger and cheese, and that's it. So I've been making a lot of tortillas and tacos around the homestead. After almost 8 months, I filled up one of the 55-gallon barrels in my composting system, so I switched them around and I'll let it compost for another 8 months.
How cool would it be if I could make my own cast iron skillet? Almost everything I do revolves around being frugal and sustainable. I used to have high blood pressure, and I did some research and found a bunch of different ingredients that naturally help reduce blood pressure. I take 2 tablespoons of this tonic that I've created, and I slam it real quick. I'll show you. There's just 2 tablespoons and enough to make it liquid. Boom, it's gone. It doesn't taste horrible, but I don't love the taste, and so I usually chase it down with a drink. I was on a wide array of medications, and even with good insurance, it was costing me maybe $50, $60 a month to try to reduce my blood pressure. But guess what? All the medications that the doctors gave me didn't do a great job of it. And I'm not a doctor, but this tonic does, in fact, bring my blood pressure way down more than the medications ever did. And in fact, I've had a really pretty balanced, healthy level for a long time. Talk to your doctor, but my Black Powder Tonic might be a great option for you or your family member that you love. And it's pretty cheap. It's like $15 for a 30-day supply and only $10 more for a 60-day supply. And what's most important to me personally is it's more sustainable. These are things I can eventually grow in my own garden. And also, they're much easier to get a hold of. If the economy ever shut down and you couldn't get your medication that you depend upon to keep your blood pressure regulated, what could happen? Check out my links below for my website. You can save 20% off as a YouTube subscriber with my code 20OFFYouTube.
If I want to do any sand casting, I need to build myself a box, which is called a flask. It has a cope on the top and a drag on the bottom. I had some so-called cedar pickets laying around, which are really just white wood with stain, so I ran them through my new Vevor thickness planer to remove the stain. I have never used a thickness planer, but it was really pretty straightforward. Simply just pulled it out of the box, unfolded the guides and whatnot. I had to attach the handle, and then I took a measurement of the size of my wood and then made the setting to just barely skim some off the top, and I just ran it through. Maybe I did it a little more than I needed to, but I didn't want to jam the device. So I think I ran it through about 7 times on each side until the wood was just right so that I could build this box. Something I really like about the planer is the nozzle on the back that I could attach a shop vac to collect the sawdust, because I could use that in my composting system or other things around the homestead. I've seen a few reviews on thickness planers, and sometimes the wood comes out choppy, but my wood was really nice and smooth, and I really didn't even know what I was doing. The ruler makes it easy to adjust the height, and there's a switch to change the speed. I only used the slower speed just to be safe. And there's a safety guard over the power switch and then the fuse button. These panels fold out with rollers to make it easy to slide the wood through, and they even put a couple rollers on the top so that you can stack your wood up there. And this is the nozzle for your shop vacuum, which I don't have yet. Here's the panels I cut so that I could make my sand casting box. I wanted to attempt this process with just the regular sand that I already have on the homestead, and I didn't even have talcum powder. I tried to use baking soda. I've never done any sand casting, and I like to try to do things as frugally as possible and then learn what adjustments I need to make so that I'm making the smallest investment for the best outcome. I was kind of surprised to see how well the first side of the sandcast turned out. If I can make the other side the same, then this should work. When I went to separate the flask, I realized that that top half was really heavy, loaded with all of that dirt. When I finally removed it, it didn't separate correctly at all. Total failure.
Here are 5 fig tree cuttings. Hope they do well for you. We found a bunch of winter gear on clearance at Walgreens, so I'm passing on a couple beanies for you. Love your channel. Keep up the great work. So this is an awesome little package here. These are great. I'm gonna throw them in right now into the tent in some water and try to get some roots going. And look, they've probably grown some since they shipped them. And you know, guys, I wear beanies all the time, so I really appreciate that. Not only is Deacon awesome and comments on most of my videos, but this is really, really awesome. Can you imagine if I have 5 full-grown fig trees here in the near future?
I cut my box in half and allowed the sand to dry, thinking maybe it was just a little bit too wet. And in fact, it looks like it might be better now. You're supposed to be able to grab a fistful and then just break it in half. If it crumbles, then it's too wet. I put my baking soda in a terry cloth so that it would come out finer, and this prevents the sand from sticking to the skillet. They make a special powder for this that's expensive, and most people use talcum. Baking soda is probably not a good option, but it's what I have on the Homestead, and I love to try things with what I have laying around. I'm crumbling the sand up around the skillet. The sand that touches the item that you're going to cast is the most important. And once it's covered, then I can kind of scoop in shovel loads and fill up the rest of the box. Once you fill the box about halfway, you want to tamp the sand down before you fill the other half of the box, and that'll help the cast just form a better pourable cast. So the cast comes out perfect again this time, only when I went to set it down, the bottom fell out. And I think that's because now the box is too thin. And I thought, well, I'm already here. I'll pack that sand back in there and see if I can make it work. And again, the same thing happened. It just seems like maybe the sand is too wet. The mold doesn't pull apart on the second half. I decided to let the sand dry out again. I'm setting up the cope right now to sandcast this skillet for the third time, and I'm really hoping it works this time because the video is sponsored by Vevor, and I need to make sure that I put out a good video for them. I planted sweet corn, bunching onions, Kentucky green beans, heirloom radish, marigold, bush beans, lima beans, and 2 carrot. I'm starting to get sprouts coming up from the peas that I planted in here about 10 days ago. And there are several other little sprouts that I'm sure I'll miss right now, but you know, this is Swiss that's been here for a while. That's a new sprout, lettuce, Swiss chard, or beets, could be beets. But there's a lot of other little things coming up. This is carrots. This year I'm just trying to, basically I'm going to plant too many seeds and get a jump on everything, because now I've got this 25-foot row right here. There's a 16-foot row here. 2 more 16 to 20-foot rows in that hoop house. The 2 Hugo cultures here, those are about 16 feet. There's 1 more over there that's about the same. And I'm about to put 2 30-foot rows in over along the side that can be irrigated. So I'm just going to get too many sprouts just in case and plant everything that I can as the time comes. I mean, it's already March 7th, so by the time most of these sprout, a lot of this stuff should be able to go outside. Well, hot damn, it's another day, huh? I can hear the fan running. See, it's 13.3 volts on that system. When I run these PC fans, it just is so much better that because it hardly touches the system at all. I had a bilge pump, a 12-volt bilge pump, which is not designed to run 24/7, but I had it laying around, so I thought, hey, let's see if it works. And it did for 3 weeks, and then it failed. So last night I got a really good deal on a pond pump. It's an 1,800 gallon per hour pump. I had to go with a 120 though, not a 12 volt, and that means I need to put that inverter back up in here, and then I can run it down. I think it had a 28-foot cord, so I can just run it over. Hopefully it doesn't kill the solar system. And the great thing is you know, I'm moving about 400 gallons really, you know, if you think about it. And so that should, well, that should give me more than 4 cycles an hour, which is really great. I think that some people have had trout with 2 cycles an hour, so having 4 cycles an hour will be amazing, especially if the power can handle it and everything. So that's why you don't hear the pump. That's my point. Long story short, no pump running right now. I did finally bring the level up to 1 part per million for ammonia, though, in both tanks here. And so everything looks like it's doing pretty good. I mean, this one, my dog had almost eaten it. And so we'll see if it bounces back, but I think it will, though, or it would have already been dead by now. And anyway, we won't have a pump in there for at least a week or 10 days or something. I'm going to have to buy casting sand, so I'm going to try something else here. This is my Vevor melting furnace. The manual says you can't melt iron in it, and I thought, what better way to test the unit out than to try to melt some iron in it? Don't try this at home. Apparently you could melt down your entire furnace. I was complacent the other day, and I had my power station up here, and I went to run to town and forgot to take it down, and it fell, and it busted my smoke detector, and I was so worried that I had damaged the unit. As you can see, it lit right up though, and currently 660 watts coming in. The sun just came up back to 1%. Says I've got 2.8 hours till it'll be fully charged, and 100% charge on this has always run me through the night. A large part of why I recommend that unit to people in a situation like me is because it charges faster than any other system, including the bigger version of itself, which charges really fast. But I have that entire 1500 watt array going into it right now, and I could add, well, it takes up to 2400 watts of input, I believe, and it'll just all go into the system and charge it super fast. Like 2 hours, I think, is not uncommon on my system, and imagine if I added almost another 1000 watts. So being able to charge something that fast, having a large array in that system will keep a pretty, I've got quite a bit going on my homestead, and the main thing that's 24/7 is Starlink, and the computer's hooked up and the phone's charging all the time, and anything else I really need power for, like the freezer. Because it's starting to warm up, I plugged the freezer in all day yesterday. It hardly seemed to even touch the system. It's just amazing. So these systems are amazing if you need the extra storage. This is a much larger battery, and it lasts about 2 to 3 times as long. And so for those situations, if you have an overcast day or whatever, this is the beast, and awesome if you can swing it. By the way, I already announced the winner of this station is Linda V, so she's going to be getting that soon. For everyone else that's already joined my mailing list, you're entered to win this security camera. I'll draw a winner on the 28th. It's not too late. Anybody that joins my mailing list will be entered to win this, and then I'll probably do another drawing next month. So the 28th of this month, I'll draw a winner. All you have to do is join my mailing list. Recently, I moved my sow in with the boar so that they could have a little honeymoon, and in I guess 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, we'll have some more piglets. And you can see that's her brother on the other side of the fence, and he sure wants to get in there. But this was actually the first time I caught my boar mounting her, so I'm pretty sure within a few days she'll be pregnant or well on the way, and we'll have piglets coming. Don't try this at home, but I did bring the iron up enough to melt it somewhat. It gets so bright that you need sunglasses to see inside there. It's basically white, and you can see as it dripped right there, that's all iron. and then it left some inside of the crucible. Of course, they were right, and the graphite crucible got so hot that it basically melted to the fire brick at the bottom. And you can see I pulled out the whole thing. And it did get hot enough to start to melt the iron, but then it cools down so quickly that you can see it doesn't even want to pour out. And what I did pour out was so brittle when it hardened that it just broke and was basically useless. I didn't even realize that I had a bunch of cans over in my trash pile. So I brought over probably 30 or 40 aluminum cans, and I started to throw those into the crucible and melt them down, and they melted down so much faster than the iron. By the way, I closely monitored the furnace while I was heating the iron and did no damage to the furnace. What you'll see here pretty quickly is that I did damage the crucible though. And basically what happened is, because the iron did melt, some of it melted around the sides, and it basically contaminated the crucible, because now it's trying to mix in with the aluminum, and it makes it really difficult to pour. And I'm just gonna have to get a new crucible now, because I can't heat it enough to remove the iron. So my last attempt to pour something, I carved out a dinner bell in the ground. So there's a triangle and a ringer that hangs from the bell, which would pour perfectly if I would have just done the aluminum in the first place. But by contaminating the crucible, it's just made it a real mess. It doesn't want to pour out right. You see how it just came out in a complete mess. Now that I've kind of worked some of the iron out, the pour was much better this time, but still a mess. The furnace itself held up and works really great. I'm just gonna have to get another crucible and melt down some aluminum like you're supposed to. And I bet you that I'll be able to pour it without any problems the next time. You can see how great the furnace held up. There's just no issues with it at all. I was able to separate the crucible from the fire brick, but that crucible is trash.
She's a good girl, huh? And drink? Come and drink? Good girl. Keep your head out of it.
It's been so cold and I've been focused on other projects. My filter here is frozen, so I'm running water through it.
I just saw a grasshopper down here somewhere. There Ron is. There they are. Cool. I'm going to come down and get these guys and start growing them. These are native, or not grasshoppers, crickets. Oh, there's a lot of them. Great.
I'm getting water for the crickets to drink and to make the sand moist to lay eggs in.
I think I saw about 10 to 20 crickets when I first climbed in here. And I think that, most of them are gone, but I caught 2 of them and threw them in here. And I've got water and I've got sand in there and I've got a place for them to lay eggs. And I just broke up a bunch of potato and threw it in there. I'll probably go grab some leaves and throw it in here too. Just hopefully what'll happen is they'll just kind of hop up the sides here and they'll smell the food and hop down there. The 2 that are in there haven't hopped out yet, so they might not even, I don't know if they're able to or not, but hopefully what'll happen next time I come in here is there'll be 20 or maybe hopefully more in here, and I'll throw a lid on it. I'll go make a lid that has a screen. I'll throw a lid on it, and then I'll be able to start breeding crickets in here for feeding the fish and maybe the chickens. Crickets like vegetables and they like potatoes. That's why I put them in there. But they also like alfalfa specifically. So I have some alfalfa here and I can pull some of the green alfalfa and just see what they kind of eat up the most. And I've got, oh, well, we'll give them this. This is, that might have bounced back until I yanked it. But that's cabbage. Nice and clear water. I figured that might be easier to pour it in this way, but I might have been wrong. I do this when it rains a lot. There we go. It's been kind of a wild last few days. I really don't consider it a failure attempting things, trying to make it as frugal and simple as possible, and then learning that, well, I need to at least make some really good casting sand or buy some. So I look forward to future projects with the furnace. I'm definitely going to be melting and pouring some different things. I might even try smelting in the future, and I look forward to using my planer more, the thickness planer, because I will be building some of my own beehive boxes and whatnot. And I ordered myself a router and some bits so that I can do my own box joints, so they'll look really nice. So stay tuned for that stuff. Guys, there's links down below for the Vevor melter, for the thickness planer. I threw down a link down there if you're interested in your ham radio license, and then the Zendure power stations, as well as my tonic that I drink every morning, which has helped to regulate my blood pressure. So check all that stuff out. I'll put a playlist over here for all of my videos on my homestead from the beginning, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.